Rich the producer.
Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my reviews. Today we are testing the new BMW X5, the G05 generation. This is the fourth model BMW launched in the X5 range, and I can still vividly remember the third generation, the F15 model, when it was launched and how BMW decided to market it. They started a campaign where the X5 was shown as the big boss. The boss is back. And I can still remember right now there was a clip where the X5 was somewhere in the desert, ended up at a crossroad with a couple of mean looking bikers, and the bikers let it pass. So if that was the boss, I cannot begin to imagine how this model would be called. I am guessing the Kingpin or maybe the Godfather, because this new X5 is quite impressive both inside and out. I'm gonna start with the outside, and this is probably going to be a longer review because there's a lot to be said about the new X5. So on the outside you may notice that the design is even more aggressive, but now, to me at least, it seems like it has cleaner lines altogether. Now the front end is going to draw a lot of attention, and that is usual for the BMW X5. It is a mean looking car in any given generation. The new one has bigger grills and rather slimmer headlights, which combined create quite a striking effect. Furthermore, there's a whole new design for the front bumper, and it changes quite a lot depending on the model line you choose, if you go for the X line and if you go for the M Sport line. The car we're testing today is the BMW X5 M Performance X5 M50d. So what that means is this is an M Performance model, and it has some particular styling cues. For example, even though overall on the outside it looks like an M Sport X5, it has very gray accents on the front bumper, on the sides of the air intakes, and on the mirror caps. The mirror caps are also very gray. So those are dead giveaways that this is an M Performance model. What makes it an M Performance model is the engine, but I'm gonna get to that a bit later. Now, still on the design side of things, I actually like the way the X5 looks now. It has cleaner lines, as I already said. There's a character line going down on the side of the car and then over the rear wheel well, and it looks absolutely stunning. Now, for the first time in the X5's history, you can get 22-inch wheels from the get-go, which are massive, but on this big car they don't look out of place at all. However, they do ruin the ride a bit. I mean, you should expect that when you get 22-inch wheels, which have like 2 inches of rubber in between them and the road. However, this X5 actually feels quite comfortable. And now I'm gonna switch over to the technical side of things. The new X5 has a couple of suspension setups you can choose from. You can choose a combination of steel coilovers with adaptive dampers. You can get 2-axle front and back air suspension, and you can get a combination of these. However, BMW wanted the X5 to be basically configured in two main categories. So you have the people who buy the X5 for its sporty dynamics and its sporty feel, of course not compared to a sedan, but compared to other SUVs in the range. And then you can now get an X5 configured to handle off-roading duties. So BMW invested a lot in this, but you cannot have the best of both worlds. And I actually agree with the way BMW is handling things right now. Because if you want your car to be a great driver and offer great experiences behind the wheel, you cannot get it with the air suspension, because that's just not made for this kind of stuff. Instead, on M Sport models and on M Performance models, you should get the electrical anti-sway bars and anti-roll bars, pardon me, and the anti-roll bars help keep the body in check when you're pushing the car hard. So the electronic anti-roll bars are only available with the steel coilovers, so you cannot get them with the adaptive air suspension. On the other hand, if you configure your car with the air suspension, which is perfect actually for off-roading duties, because you can raise and lower the car's height to handle, I don't know, bigger crevices and so on, you cannot get the electronically adjustable anti-roll bar, the active anti-roll bars as BMW calls it. So BMW is trying to separate the two, let's say, worlds, the two preferences of its customers, and in my opinion that's the right thing to do. So this M Performance model comes with steel springs and with anti-roll bars, which do a good job in keeping this car's hefty size and weight in check. I mean, this thing tips the scales at over 2.3 tons. But of course you cannot expect it to be on the same level with the sedan, but it is decent in terms of handling. Now under the hood hides the new B57S engine. The old X5 in M50d, guys, as this car is, used to get the old tri-turbo 3-liter diesel engine with 381 horsepower. This one gets the 400 horsepower one with 4 turbos, and it is absolutely magnificent. You get 450 Newton meters of torque from 1000 RPM, which is basically idle. So in total you get 760 Newton meters of torque and 400 horsepower, which will handle this car's weight without even flinching. It is an incredibly fast car. It will do 100 kilometers an hour from standstill in about 5.2 seconds, as you're about to see. That's not even the best thing about it. The best thing about it is the torque that simply seems to never end. This thing feels like a freight train, and it will help you overtake at speeds way over the speed limit. I mean, it seems like it has no boundaries, to be honest. And the best part about it is it's not thirsty. I mean, if you calm yourself down, I managed to get a fuel consumption of about 10 liters per 100 kilometers inside the city. I guess that would be a minimum because I did this fuel consumption test at night, but I'm guessing it will be 11-12 liters during the day, during heavier hours. Outside the city limits, the fuel consumption ranged between 8 and 9 liters per 100 kilometers covered. Once again, it depends on how fast you're going. My average speed was about 110 kilometers an hour or 65 miles an hour. So it is more than frugal for a car of this size and with this much power. You couldn't possibly ask for more. Now there are some downsides to this car as well. BMW decided to introduce the brake-by-wire system for the first time on its cars on this new X5. I don't know about the upcoming 3 Series or the 8 Series if they use brake-by-wire technology, but I'm guessing they do. And what it is, it's basically when you press the brake pedal, it doesn't mechanically activate the brakes anymore. It's just a sensor that reads out just how much power you're putting into the brake pedal and then brakes the car. It's similar to the fly-by-wire or acceleration-by-wire system, where the gas pedal is no longer mechanical but just a sensor with a potentiometer at the other end, adjusting the acceleration depending on how much power and pressure you apply to the pedal. So that means that with this brake-by-wire system, what you get is less feedback through the pedal, and that is quite disappointing, to be honest, because I actually liked feeling the brakes, especially on the track. Of course, nobody's gonna take the X5 and M50d guys or any other guys except for the M model on the track. But if the X5M comes with a brake-by-wire system, a lot of people will be disappointed. I don't like the fact that I don't have feedback anymore. How can I tell if my brakes are heated up and cannot brake anymore? Well, BMW says that there's going to be an indicator in the dash, but by the time that indicator lights up, it might be too late. So that's one of the gripes I have with the car. Another one would be the steering, which is still quite dull. I know there's been some progress made with it, but it just doesn't offer a lot of feedback. Yes, you enter sport mode and it gets a bit heavier, but that's about it. Now, another gripe I have with the car is the fact that it doesn't handle undulated roads all that well. It gets a bit unsettled on the rear axle when dealing with larger potholes, and I guess the damping could have been a bit better. But other than that, these are just, actually, I'm gonna have to be honest, this is just nitpicking because this is a great car. Step inside, you'll find a new interior which looks absolutely brilliant, new materials, better quality in everything. The dash is covered in leather. The design looks really, really good. The new doors have different door handles and LEDs on them. Whenever you open the door, the LEDs on the door will flicker to let you know that the door is open. You have new ambient lighting. You get panoramic sunroofs. You get this sunroof as standard, and you also get the lounge option, which means the sunroof will light up at night with 15,000 LEDs. I don't really care about that. But the biggest news inside is the new infotainment system. So in standard, guys, the X5 comes with the iDrive system we've all grown to love over the years, over the last few years. But if you get the live professional cockpit option, you get this new setup with a new instrument cluster, a new iDrive 7.0 system, and the new BMW personal assistant. Now, the instrument cluster looks absolutely brilliant, but it does take some time to get used to it, because the round speedometer and rev counter are gone, and you have some hexagonal design. It looks good, but it does take some getting used to it. The instrument cluster displays your map, if you wanted to, right in the middle, so you can know where you're heading. And you have other various interesting tidbits of info thrown in there. For example, if your steering, if your driving assistant is turned on and it's keeping the lane and whatever it's doing, you can actually configure the way the info displayed, from, I don't know, multimedia to the sport readouts, which show you the amount of horsepower and torque you're using, to fuel consumption and so on. So you can configure it in a number of ways. Switching between the different driving modes this car comes with is done by pressing the same buttons located here near the gear shift knob. But I should also mention that the differences in the instrument cluster aren't as big as they used to be. As a matter of fact, I miss the old sport displays of the old instrument cluster, which just turned everything into one rev counter and one speedometer and showed just them and how fast you were going, and that was it. I actually missed that design, but the new one looks good. You also get an infrared camera right between the speedometer and the rev counter, which is permanently aimed at your face to see whether you are paying attention to the road whenever you're using the cruise control system. And the system has evolved as well. It's keeping the lane, it keeps the distance from the car in front of you. You actually get a new option now. There's a button on the steering wheel that says set on it, and the car is reading the speed limits wherever you're driving. And if you just want to adapt your speed to the new speed limit, you just press this button and the car adapts itself to the new speed limit. So as I said, this is going to be a long review. What I don't like inside is maybe the new iDrive layout, because it offers so many options. So the traditional menu is gone. You get 5 different big sub menus to the left, and you can configure the way the screen looks just like on a smartphone, on an Android smartphone. You basically have tiles and you can adjust their size and order on the screen. You have 10 pages you can use. That's more than enough. And you can configure it. I actually made a video about the new iDrive system. I'm gonna post a link of it below, because there's so much info you need to know about it and I couldn't fit it in this review. One gripe I have with the interior of the new car is the gear shift lever. Now, BMW created a beautiful design for it. I like its design, I like the way it looks, I like the fact that it's transparent and you have an X logo inside which is illuminated at night. It looks good. The problem I have with it is that it feels cheap. It feels like it's made out of cheap plastic, and it feels rather flimsy if you pull on it a bit harder. And honestly, it doesn't do this car justice, because this is a car that, as tested today, adds up to 122,000 euros. At 122,000 euros, I would like a gear shift knob that feels better. That's it. So, rant over, I would just like a gear shift knob that feels better. And the plastics around it don't feel that great either. Whenever you press on one, you really have to push on it to feel like it works, to feel like it was actually pressed. Right in front of it, you get the new cup holders, which are heated and cooled. I tested the cooling function, doesn't really work that great, because it only cools the bottom of the cup holder. So I guess it will maintain the lower temperature of your beverage for a longer time, but it is not nearly as impressive as I expected. Well, with that being said, I guess it's time to end this review. I know it's longer than you guys are used to, but there's just so much to say about it, and I didn't even get into the iDrive menu, for which I made a separate video, which I recommend you guys watching too. So this has been my review of the brand new BMW X5 in M50d, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Maybe leave me some feedback in the comment section.